Hi, this is Paul on the Plane. Welcome to episode 10 of Faking Space, and part 1 of our series on the Electro-L, from what we are told is a Russian geostationary weather satellite. Electro-L1 was launched in 2011, and then Electro-L2 was launched in 2015. Now, the purposes of these satellites, we are told, is to capture real-time images of clouds and the Earth's underlying surface, heliogeophysical measurements, collection of translating hydrometeorological and service data. This is all according to the Roscosmos, the Russian Space Agency's website. Now, all of the links we are using in this episode will obviously be included in the video description, as we usually do, with the hope that you perform the same analysis yourself. And the forensic image analysis tools, yes, free to download and use, you've got no excuses, will be in the description as usual as well. Now, we are going to be downloading and analyzing images from the FTP server on the Russian Space Agency's domain, which you can see here. They provide you the link, and they give you a login ID and password, which are both simply Electro, E-L-E-C-T-R-O, and you can access all the same files. We'll be using the images from the Electro-L2, which are the most recent, and they are posted about every 30 minutes. And what we found, and this is where we're going to start the video today, is that they're pictures of the Earth on the night side. The satellite is supposedly always pointed at Russia. At 20:30, or about 8:30 p.m. Russia time, always have this very, very weird effect. We are told the Electro is 36,000 kilometers, or about 22 to 23,000 miles above the Earth, and is able to get a full picture of the disk. That's right, the Russian Space Agency seems to always call the Earth a disk when referring to the images Electro is capturing. Now, the Electro camera is allegedly 121 megapixels, so we're supposedly receiving, the highest resolution images of our world. At least the Russians didn't spare any expense and put a decent camera on board a satellite, compared to the 4 megapixel Epic camera on the Discover satellite, right? And the Electro is allegedly 98% closer to the Earth than Discover, and can get a full picture of the disk? What gives, NASA? But I digress. Alright, so here is how we will find these images. We're going to go to this site, which is where the FTP server link is, and shows you the login. I've already logged in, so it's going to remember me, but if you're doing this for the first time, remember that it's Electro is the login ID and the password is Electro. So you should be able to get in very easily. Alright, it takes a little bit for each of these pages to load when you click on a link, but what you're going to see when we first get in there, there's the Electro L1 and the Electro L2. So we're going to go ahead and use the link for the Electro L2, and we're going to go to 2017. Just going to grab the latest images that we can as of the recording of this video. So we're going to go to August, and we want the night pictures, so we're going to go to the 17th, because as of right now it's morning on the 18th, so won't have that effect. And we're going to go down to 2030, which is military time, Russia time. Okay, when this first loads, you're going to see in every one of these times, these RGB files. You're going to see a larger one, 2+ megabytes, and then a small one. So I'm going to be using the smaller ones just for the simple fact that they're easier to use in the program like Photoscape. But when we click on the image, you can see this dividing line, this line right down the middle of the disk, which is very weird because we see that in almost all of these days at this exact time. So we're going to go ahead and save this to my hard drive here, and I'll show you what happens, at least on my computer here, when I download the larger file. but and then tried to use it in Photoscape. But we'll let this one load, which is quite a bit larger, as you can see. But even without any sort of changing of brightness or backlighting or anything of that nature, you can already see this very strange dividing line, and it happens every day, it seems, at this time of day. Very, very odd. So we'll save this one as well. The file name is original on that. We'll bring these right into Photoscape, which you guys have seen before. Looks like the original is still downloading. So let's just go ahead and pull in the smaller of the two. And the best way to see this is really just to increase the backlighting. And you can see this thing pop out. Look at that dividing line. Very, very strange. Curious if anybody has an explanation. Look for an explanation online, and I haven't been able to find one. Alright, so let's go back and grab a different day. So I'll just grab the day earlier at the same exact time, so you can see that this wasn't just something unusual or unique that happened on August 17th. Let's just go back to August 16th, and you can do this on your own. Go to pick a random day and go to let's go back again to the 16th. Pick a random day, go to about this time, 2030, and you won't really even have to make any changes to the photo, increase the backlighting or anything of that nature. Here we're going to download again the RGB, which is the combination of all the different channels, and you can see it there without any, without even downloading it and putting it into Photoscape. Very, very strange. Alright, the other point we want to make here is, as you're cruising through the FTP site here, no matter which day you click on, we'll just pick another random day. How about the 10th of August? In each of the day folders, you have all of the times, as you saw. So no matter which time you pick, we'll just pick a random time, 6:30. Any of these, and you can see in each of the time folders, they have all of these JPEGs, 1 through 10. Well, if you click on 10, in every one of these folders, here's what you get. A white disk. Every single folder. We'll go back and try another one. That was at, I believe, 6:30. We'll go to 18:30. What is this all about? Click on the 10. A white disk. Go to a different day. Takes a while again to navigate through this site. That was August 10. We'll pick August 2nd. Kind of belaboring the point here, but I wanted to show you how weird this is. We'll go and pick an early one. Early in the day. The 10th JPEG. Drum roll, please. A white disk. What's that all about? Alright, and finally, obviously we would be remiss if we did not drop the photo into forensically, and that's what I've done here, looking for noise and ambient light, and not surprised, but we see pretty much the same results as we did with the LRO and Epic images. The background, the space, has no noise, there's no ambient light. This is obviously pasted onto a black background, a fake painted black background doesn't react at all like a real photo should. Alright, and one additional note, if you put the image into JPEG Snoop, what you're going to see is a signature match for the Sony CyberShot camera, which is very interesting because I want you to make a mental note of that, because this is going to come up later in our forensic image analysis series with images from other sources. It does match potentially some other software programs, the compression signatures, but JPEG Snoop is saying it may be an unknown software program. But keep that in mind, that Sony CyberShot. Okay, that's a wrap on episode 10, which is part 1 of our forensic image analysis of the Electro-L Russian weather satellite, and it's an amazing 121 megapixel camera taking pictures of the Earth disk from 22 to 23,000 miles away. We hope you've enjoyed episode 10 of Faking Space. In part 2, we'll continue analyzing images from the Electro-L and reveal some other very strange effects that we found that further provides evidence that the images the world is being presented by the Russian Space Agency are anything but authentic. Until then, on behalf of Archer Sage, this has been Paul on the Plane. Thanks for watching. Hi, this is Paul on the Plane. Welcome to episode 11 of Faking Space and our season 1 finale. This video is part 2 of our forensic image analysis series on the Electro-L, a weather satellite the Russian space agency Roscosmos claims is pointed at Russia at all times, about 22,000 miles above the Earth. In part 1, we show that if you download files directly from the Electro-L FTP server and analyze the source files, you'll see a weird dividing line, vertical line, down the center of the Earth disk at exactly 20:30 each day. That's military time, so about 8:30 p.m. Russia time, which is obviously really, really weird. We also showed that each of the FTP folders for each day and each time, which is every 30 minutes, that the 10th JPEG file is just a white disk image, and it's the same size and dimensions as all the other JPEG files in every other folder, every day, all day. We also showed there was no noise and no ambient light from the images from the Electro-L of the Earth, and that the compression signature in JPEG Snoop, even from the original source file from every 30 minutes, shows it's from a Sony CyberShot camera. Okay. Here in part 2, we'll be accessing the same FTP server. We're going to navigate through the links to the Electro-L2, then 2017, and then the month of June, and go to June 20th. We're going to look at the time of 2030 and pull up the quote-unquote original JPEG, and what you'll see here is a very weird anomaly, this fluorescent green line. You can also hit the back button and go to 2000 hours, so 30 minutes before, and see an even larger green anomaly, a green line that looks like multiple lines here. And then the subsequent time folders, you'll sometimes see these weird green smudges all over the disk at various places. This happens, or appears to happen on other days as well, but always when the light is starting to go away or behind the disk as Roscosmos is presenting these images from the Electro-L. And all of these anomalies, from the green line, the green smudges, and the weird dividing line we showed in part 1, all happen with the night images only. If we put the photo in Photoscape, and we use the backlighting feature, we can see the weird dividing line again, which is very strange. You may argue that the weird green line is some sort of glitch when the different channels of the camera are combined, but then you'll have to reconcile why it doesn't happen with every shot, and never during the quote-unquote daytime images, and only when we're seeing the dark side of the disc. The other point I want to make here is that, as you've seen, every single time folder contains 10 files, and then the RGB is the combined one. The other images, JPEG 1, 2, JPEG 3, etc., all have some colors, and some are black and white, and some have clouds. So, if these are all the different channels, how come when they combine all the images, the clouds disappear? Apparently, we can see the clouds all over the dark side of the disk. Each folder contains a few pictures of clouds all over. But when all of the data is combined into one image, the clouds on the dark side disappear? Very strange. And of course, if you put all of these images into forensically, you'll see no noise, no ambient light, meaning they are just pasted onto a fake background, a black background meant to be the infinite vacuum of space. Extremely weird stuff going on with these images from the Electro L2. Alright, that's a wrap on Part 2 of the Electro L and Episode 11 of Faking Space, our forensic image analysis series. That means we've come to the end of Season 1. We hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, and we hope you are doing some of your own forensic analyses of photos that we are given by NASA and the other space agencies. We have a ton more in store, so we will be producing a Season 2 of Faking Space, which will cover some of the other space agencies, a ton more from NASA, including images from Mars, our moon, and the more recent images from the TRAPPIST system and NASA's exoplanet exploration. You won't want to miss it. So with that, thank you for watching. On behalf of Archer Sage, this has been Paul on the Plane. We'll see you next season.
I'm excited to announce today that Dr. Michael Gion and his team have used our Spitzer Space Telescope to determine that there are actually 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting the nearby TRAPPIST-1 star about 40 light years away. What's more, as you can see in this illustration, is that 3 of these planets, marked in green, are in the habitable zone, where liquid water can pool on the surface. In fact, with the right atmospheric conditions, there could be water on any of these planets. So for the first time, we found as many terrestrial planets around a single star, and that's the first time we have been able to measure, in addition to that, both the masses and the radii of these habitable zone type Earth-sized planets. These planets are among the best of all the planets we know to follow up, to see, for example, with the James Webb Space Telescope that we're going to launch last year, the atmospheres, and also to look at biosignatures if there are any. The discovery gives us a hint that finding a second Earth is not just a matter of if, but when.
The big news is that around a very nearby, cold, small star, we found 7 rocky, Earth-sized planets, all of which could potentially have liquid water.
For me, it's mind-blowing. The first time I saw what the system had in it, I just was like, you gotta be kidding me. And then I looked at the data myself, I'm like, yeah, there they all are. It's just, I would have never predicted this. It's beyond, anything I could have ever dreamt of.
felt super excited, amazed by the existence. The very existence of the system was kind of shock.
If you were standing on one of these planets, you'd actually see a lot of them sort of in the sky, whipping by on these very short orbital periods.
It is an excellent, fantastic discovery.
In February 2017, NASA announced this truly amazing discovery. And thanks to the NASA artists' renditions, we now have images that have been implanted in our mind of what these worlds may actually look like in all their beauty. This FTP folder contains the raw source files for the TRAPPIST system. They should look pretty familiar when I click through them, as they've appeared in every video and news article announcing this groundbreaking discovery. What you'll quickly find if you go to this folder is that in each of these are a horizontal flat map for each of the quote-unquote planets, complete with a terminator line or shadow, which are used to create a spherical planet by wrapping the square map around a ball in a software program. Each folder contains the same series of files and naming conventions. The square flat map, a circle rendition of that texture, which is used for that graphic, and an animation. Watch as I click through a number of these other folders. Look familiar? The condemning evidence here is the fact that the TRAPPIST system source file maps are in this folder, which are identical to the maps of the planets and moons from our solar system, even though the TRAPPIST system is known to be 100% created by artists. That's right, in each folder for Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are the same files with a naming convention for the square flat maps, the circle rendition, and which is the flat map wrapped around a ball to make it a sphere, and the same animation. Jet Propulsion Lab does not even hide some of these maps, as you can download them from the JPL website. It's extremely simple to take these circle renditions from these square maps wrapped around a ball and add a terminator line or shadow to make it, give it some depth and make it look like it's floating in outer space. Check out this video I made of the 8 planets of our solar system. These are all NASA images. So in conclusion, the Trappist artists' conceptions were made with the same software that created the maps of the quote-unquote actual planets and moons of our solar system. This is why you get images of Jupiter years apart with the same weather. They are the same source file, the same 3D modeling software, and the same animation. This has been Paul on the Plane. Keep it flat. Hey guys, Paul on the Plane back here with you. Welcome to episode 2 of Faking Space, now in our second season. Today we're going to focus on the Himawari geostationary satellite, which we're told is something like a mind-boggling 22,000 miles away from the Earth, sending us a real picture every 10 minutes. Did you know the Himawari ironically means sunflower? So, yeah, there's proof of the heliocentric sun worshippers model right there. So why are we picking on the Himawari today? Well, defenders of the heliocentric model love to point to the quote-unquote almost real-time images from the Himawari as proof of a globular Earth, since it allegedly gives us a picture every 10 minutes, and the weather data seems to be, pretty current. Well, unfortunately for the ballers, we're going to debunk that completely here, simply in the next 5 minutes, and show you how they fake it all. Let's cut right to the smoking gun to start. Here is the website anyone can go to and see this all for themselves. On a side note, the Himawari is operated by the Japanese Meteorological Space Agency and brought to us by the NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's GOES geostationary satellite server. And I'll include the links here for all this stuff in the video description, so you can check it out right now if you want. Okay, so when you're at the FTP site, click here for the site description. So when you do, a text file comes up, and you can see right here, they tell you that all of the images in the archive use the underlying colored land images from the NASA Blue Marble dataset. Yep. So the Himawari is actually totally debunked right there. These aren't real pictures coming from a satellite in a geostationary orbit above the Earth getting snapped every 10 minutes and being beamed down for us to all ooh and ah over. They take the Blue Marble data set, which I'm sure you remember. They admitted years ago was a flat strip data pieced together by an artist named Rob Simon in Photoshop, because it had to be, right? But to move on, and then to just briefly show you how they generate a picture every 10 minutes with what appears to be accurate and current weather. This is basically what they do. Now, don't take my word for it, as I always say. Go check it out for yourself. Number 1, they have already created and stored transparent images of the weather over the oceans using climate simulation software, which they openly admit right here that they've done climate simulations up to the year 2095. But it's actually the year 2100 on this FTP server folder, and here's one of the images. And following some of the other images that you can find where the land masses are transparent, and they use all this simulation software to come up with the weather over the oceans. Since our weather data comes from our ground-based Doppler radar, and it's impossible to use ground-based systems to cover the entire vast oceans, so that's where the weather over the oceans comes from, their software simulations. Number 2, now for the weather over the land, the NOAA has supercomputers that take data coming in from all over the world, Doppler radar feeds, and crunch it all together and combine it with the weather simulation data over the oceans, so they come up with a complete composite weather quote-unquote map, which is then wrapped around a ball in their 3D modeling software programs, just like we've shown countless times in our previous episodes with the Earth and the planets, etc. So, then what we get are composite images like this that are created in the 3D modeling software, the current Doppler weather data over land and the simulated weather over the oceans, and it looks like this. So this particular image is on the FTP server and is date and time stamped with October 11th, 2017 at 11:05 a.m. I just chose one randomly. Notice the image shows you the weather for the whole ball and not just part of the ball that is lit by the sun at this particular time. No Terminator line or anything like that, right? Okay. Now, here's the kicker. Go to the other file folder, which is the images that we get to see and are told are real pictures from space. But what they've simply done is taken the weather map picture of the whole ball they created, and they superimpose it over the blue marble data set, just like they said they did. So what you can see here is the final version of what we're spoon-fed and told is a picture taken by the Himawari from space, like, 10 minutes ago. This is the image from the same date and time, October 11th, 2017 at 11:05 a.m. And you can see that the weather is exactly the same. Watch it closely. There's your weather map comprised of simulated and Doppler radar being used to complete a composite image. They do this with the Discover satellite too, the epic camera from 1 million miles away, they tell us. Ridiculous. Okay. Now, also notice the final image has a Terminator line added in to try and make it look like a real picture from space, which drives a nail in the coffin of the Himawari because the weather data shows it over the whole ball completely. But they have to add a Terminator line to show the Earth only partially lit by the sun based on the time of day that the photo is allegedly taken. So if this is a real picture, how did they know where to put the clouds and weather on the part of the globe with no sunlight? It's completely dark there. It's all right here, guys. They are faking space. Hey, we all fell for it for a long time with their Doppler radar and weather simulation software building a current weather picture and wrapping it around a ball in 3D software and pasting it onto a black background like they do with all the others, adding a Terminator line and calling it a real picture from space. Himawari debunked once and for all. This has been Paul on the Plane. Thanks for watching. Happy Friday, Flat Earth friends. Paul on the Plane here. Just a quick fun video today as we head into the weekend. Most of us use Google as our search engine, I get that, but sometimes I like to use Bing because of their big colorful images, which changes each day. Today's image caught my eye, naturally. Today only, if you go to Bing.com, you will see an amazing picture from NASA that we are told is a shot from the Space Shuttle Endeavour in 2011 of the International Space Station. Isn't it gorgeous? I mean, what an amazing shot. Naturally, I wanted to drop this into Forensically and see what I could find out about this quote-unquote photo, allegedly taken from an alleged altitude of hundreds of miles above the surface of the Earth. The first test I like to perform is always the noise test. For those of you who are photographers, you know what noise is and you know the problems with it. It's always a good test to verify authenticity of a real photograph because the electronic signals the camera interprets as light and the levels of light cannot be faked, unless you add noise after the fact, and we've shown NASA does that in our Faking Space series. Anyways, back to this quote-unquote photo. Well, it's definitely composite, as NASA would admit. It's a composite of 2 shots, at least. Of course, the background is most likely an image captured by a high-altitude balloon or plane with lens distortion to create the appearance of a curve. We all get that, of course. The ISS is an image from a different source, laid on top of the Earth image, evidenced by this noise analysis. You can tell by looking in between the solar panels, which you can see through on the shot, as each set of these panels is made up of 2 panels with a space in between, and you can see the Earth in between each pair of panels. But when you add the noise analysis, look how much noise is found in between each panel, and at the same level as the panels themselves. Then look at the noise levels from the surface of the Earth and what we are told is quote-unquote space. There's zero consistency between the noise we should see in between the panels and the rest of the background. Clearly, this is a separate shot laid on top of another and being propagated as a single shot taken from the space shuttle of the ISS. The deception is real, folks. It's alive and well. Of course, this is my opinion and mine alone. You don't have to agree with it. Download the photo, drop it into forensic tools just like I did. Draw your own conclusion if you like. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just showing you what I found and what I think. Have a great weekend, everyone. This has been Paul on the Plane. Keep it flat. Hello, Paul on the Plane here, back with you with another episode of Faking Space. This is episode 4 of season 2, and today we'll be picking on JAXA again, the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency. Earlier in season 2, we tore up JAXA's Himawari, showing how they produce their fake Earth images in real time using Doppler radar and weather forecast simulations crunched by the NOAA supercomputers. In this episode, we're digging a little deeper into the JAXA archives and analyzing their Earthrise image from April 5th, 2008. You know, we hear a lot from the Globe Earth defenders living in their science fiction fantasy world that the other space agencies like JAXA couldn't possibly be colluding with NASA to fake space and continue to reinforce the Globe Earth lie by raping and pillaging their taxpayers. We usually hear that sort of comment after they see evidence that NASA is faking space, so they deflect to the images from other space agencies, which simply means the NASA evidence they just saw was effective in getting them to doubt their space fantasy in the first place. But admittedly, JAXA does a much better job of trying to make the images that they produce look like they actually have a real camera flying around on a satellite in outer space, taking photos and beaming them back to Earth where we get to ooh and ah. But anyone with half a brain who takes a few minutes to look at their quote-unquote photos and compares them to how real photos react to forensic tools will see through their fakery too. Yep, sorry folks, JAXA is faking space just like NASA is. Okay, let's get into the evidence here. You may recall the handful of episodes I produced in Season 1 of the Earthrise images from the LRO, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, showing how NASA failed to even remove the boxes around their transparent images of the so-called globe. And the images, of course, failed all the tests to see if they were real photos. No noise, no ambient light, and the obvious pasting of the blue marble composite image onto a black background with the lunar surface added in. JAXA, on the other hand, actually added noise to their Earthrise image, which any software image editor program can do. Sorry to burst your bubble there. Photoscape here is a completely free image editor and has that functionality. See, JAXA? That's all you had to do to make it look more real. But when you see what camera noise looks like in a real photo, like the one I took here from Earth to the Moon, and compare it to JAXA's image from the Moon to the Earth, you can see how their noise is completely inconsistent in pattern and shape. Also, the noise analysis in forensically reveals the image of the Earth was simply copied and pasted in. See the peaks around the image? Nice try, JAXA. Likewise, also, JAXA's image fails the ambient light test. Real photos will have ambient light that is easily detected. Here's the real photo I took of the Moon from the Earth, and you can see the light is emanating from the Moon when I go from complete darkness to complete light. Now, here's the JAXA image taken from the Moon to the Earth, which in theory should be way more reflective of sunlight with all its water and atmosphere, and therefore have much more ambient light, but you can see how it doesn't look anything like it should, if it were a real photo. But at least JAXA took out the box around the Earth, like NASA failed to do, right? Well, if you increase the gamma brightness and backlighting in the JAXA image, you can see they just crop the image closer, because there's the evidence of the box on the edge of the frame here. See the vertical lines when I zoom in? You use my Moon photo and increase the gamma brightness and backlighting, and no vertical lines will ever show up. It's because mine is actually a photo. Theirs isn't. It's as simple as that. So there you have it, another space agency giving you a breathtaking image of a globular Earth, hoping you will be left breathless and in awe of the beauty of our world floating, spinning, flying, hurtling through space. Well, keep sending JAXA your money, you citizens of Japan. Here's what you're getting for it. A for effort, JAXA. We appreciate the fact that you at least put some effort into trying to make your fake images look like real photos. But we're on to you too, you fakers. This has been Paul on the Plane. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, Paul on the plane here. It's been a while since I've produced an episode of Faking Space, but I'm back today simply to add the SpaceX Tesla Roadster launch last month to our forensic analysis series here in Season 2. Because it was another classic example of how a government space agency continues the endeavor of the reinforcement of the heliocentric lie to the government school indoctrinated masses with images and video that was anything but authentic. If you think for 1 second that SpaceX and NASA aren't connected, you better check the facts.
Under our ELV certification agreement, we're undertaking vigorous engineering reviews with the Air Force. To date, we've delivered more than 30,000 data items to the Air Force and provided total access to our internal systems to more than 300 government officials for certification. And we hope to complete that certification this year. Under our ELV certification agreement, we're undertaking vigorous engineering reviews with the Air Force. To date, we've delivered more than 30,000 data items to the Air Force and provided total access to our internal systems to more than 300 government officials for certification. And we hope to complete that certification this year.
But what I'm going to briefly cover today will be nothing new to a lot of you. The truth community did a great job dissecting the SpaceX dog and pony show and presenting all the inconsistencies and anomalies and why the whole thing looked so fake that it had to be real, right? And major props to Jeranism for catching the fact that SpaceX was allowed to modify a recording of its live stream of Starman on YouTube. I wonder how many times they've gotten away with it in the past. I put Jaren's video link in the description below. If you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check it out. Shoot, that in of itself should make your spidey sense tingle. That is, if you're genuinely interested in finding the truth. Unfortunately, many of you who watch this are only interested in trying to discredit or make a mockery of those who are pointing such things out, you religious nutjobs. Your actions and reactions reveal everything about you and your religious fanaticism with quote-unquote space. But I digress. As I was saying, the truth community absolutely tore up the Starman footage within a few days, basically doing the job for me. Thank you all. The countless videos that I saw showing the many different ways SpaceX and those they are colluding with trying to fake space was simply awesome. Today I'm just going to highlight a few of the many different problems with the footage and then file it away in our Faking Space series as one more piece of evidence that we are all being lied to. So, let's get started. Number 1 came with the reveal of the Tesla Roadster and Starman in space with this shot. Yep, you've all seen it. Now, I'm not claiming that this proves the car and dummy were filmed in a studio, although in my opinion it absolutely was. But what I want to point out is how the camera reacts to the change in the new background image and the change in the level of light. Watch it again slowly as the top of the SpaceX rocket opens up and how the camera reacts, which reveals undeniably that the camera has two things: autofocus and auto exposure features. The camera is first focused on Starman and the background of the inside of the rocket, or so we are meant to think it's the inside of the Falcon Heavy. But when it opens, the camera is able to focus on the image of the Earth behind it. That's how most cameras operate. That point is secondary, however, to how the camera reacts to the change in light. When the rocket pop top opens, the flash of bright light we see is because the aperture of the camera was wide open, because the inside of the rocket room the car and dummy were in was very dark. But the aperture quickly closes automatically because of all the light now bombarding the Tesla Roadster directly from the sun and from the sun's reflected light off the Earth, or so we are meant to think that's how it works. The camera auto-adjusts to the new level of light in that instance, and we eventually can see Starman soaring in front of the Earth in all its glory. You can see the autofocus and auto exposure again in this shot with the Earth floating in from left to right. At first it's a big white disk, and then the camera adjusts and we can see the image of the Earth, or so they want us to think that's what it is. So now that we've proven the camera has autofocus and auto exposure settings, we can view the rest of the footage with a concrete understanding of what the camera should pick up and what it should not. Like stars. With the camera's aperture wide open inside the dark room, when the rocket first opens, we should see it pick up the stars in the background. After all, we're continually told by the space agencies we don't see the stars in their space footage because of the amount of ambient light coming from the Earth. But with the lens wide open and able to receive all the light from the stars, they don't show up, even for a split second? And when the camera floats around and is pointed into the deep dark blackness of space and the supposed light from the sun and ambient light from the earth is behind the camera, we don't even see a couple of the brightest stars? You're kidding, right? All you photographers out there should be calling bullshit like I am. Guys, they're faking space. Okay, number 2. I saw quite a few YouTubers pick up on this quickly, right after dissecting the footage of Starman floating in front of an image of the Earth. And they are spot on. Watch closely the CGI glitch of the Earth in the background as the Tesla floats in front of it. Did you see it? Watch it again. This time slowly. Now, why is this significant? Because Starman and his red chick magnet of a car didn't glitch. It was only the background of the moving image, meaning it's a layered video feed. If it was a camera glitch, you would see Starman, his Tesla, and the Earth all glitch simultaneously, in the same way, in the same direction, and all recover at the same time. You don't, because it was just one layer of the video suffering this glitch, while the video feed of Starman and his hot ride, the top layer, was consistent. Busted. When are you guys going to start asking yourself why they have to fake all this science fiction garbage if space, as it is presented to us in our government schools and in the mainstream media, is true? Okay, number 3. The last one I'll point out today is the anomaly, I call it, on the Earth image video layer here. Look through the Tesla windshield and you can see the dark spot going from left to right. It looks like a long space turd. Unfortunately, Elon, it looks like a few pixels on your flat screen just went out. I have no idea what that is or why it appeared on the video layer other than it's not supposed to be there because we've never seen a long black turd floating above the clouds in any of the other hundreds of Earth shots we are spoon-fed from the government space agencies, from the Epic Discover, the Himawari, the Electro-L satellites, which give us all these amazing, quote-unquote, photos of the spinning, orbiting space pair. They aren't photos. This channel has debunked that 1,000 times over. Even the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, or LRO, and its breathtaking Earthrise shots in all their high-def glory, never picked up a giant space turd. So, sorry, Mr. Musk, another CGI fail to add to this pile of crap. The faking of space continues. You are being lied to. But, to many of you watching, Elon said it's real, so it must be. And a lot of people think it's real, so it must be. CNN said it's real, so for damn sure it must be. Don't think for yourself. I mean, no one has ever fooled you before, and they certainly aren't now, right? You're so smart, and your faith is so strong. Before I close, props also go out to Bob at Globebusters for his research on the Tesla Roadster's tires and how they would react to not only the vacuum of space, but also to the freezing temperatures in space, if you have enough faith in what they tell you space is like, that is. If you haven't seen that Globebusters episode, check it out. The link is in the description. SpaceX, Starman, a Tesla in space. Hope you guys are all enjoying the show. Debunked, debunked, debunked. Until next time, this has been Paul on the Plane. Thanks for watching.